So last week with the premiere of Skeleton Knight, I came on and basically sung the praises of the first episode of Skeleton Knight and really said like, hey, like this show really came out like I mentioned last week that last week's episode was called Shock and Awe. And I was really wondering how they were going to really kind of like follow that back up. And with everything that occurred last week, it really came, and I felt like it really made a splash, and it really gave anybody who gave episode one a real shot to say, hey, like you need to watch this anime, especially if you vibe with any of the isekai elements and things that it's trying to go for. But my first question to that was like, well, how are they going to follow it up? And is this actually going to be something that wasn't just a fluke of an episode one, but was really something that you should be watching? And episode two really told me that the answer is yes. It's a story about somebody named Ark who is going and navigating through the world that they have now been reincarnated or isekai'd into, and the fact that they were basically put into a body that is unlike anything that they could have ever imagined, and how they're going to try and basically navigate that. And in this episode, we had Ark, who was again he joined the guild. He's trying to take on adventurers. He has to live. He has to make money. He has to figure out how to support himself, etc., etc. So one of the first things that he did was go and take a job, but he's trying to make sure that he kind of stays, undercover, trying to stay low, to not get himself noticed too much, because he doesn't know on the power scale where he really falls. Now, obviously, after this episode, after he was able to destroy and completely annihilate a basilisk, which is this land wyvern type monster, he definitely knows that his power is pretty up there, because he was able to defeat quote unquote a mid-level boss per the game in basically one shot. And he kind of even surprised himself that he was able to even pull that off. So he kind of has an idea now, I think, after defeating that basilisk, that he on the power scale he's pretty up there. But, again, the story is about him trying to navigate all that. And I really like this episode quite a bit, because it showed us two different things. One, he gained a familiar, so that was a really cool thing. He found a little baby kitsune, a little fox thing, and he was able to heal it. And because of that little monster, that little kitsune, was able to immediately like bond and have companionship with him. So that's a good thing. It's like, get a man a dog kind of thing. So I definitely really dig that, because now he's gonna have somebody to go on adventures with him and to be with him. And I really dig that. And the fact that he got himself this big ass freaking skeleton dude, got himself like the cutest little monster that you could find. I think that's really, really, really cute. And the second thing I really like is, even though that he was changed into this monster and stuff, he still has a lot of human emotion, obviously. And in this episode, he goes and he finds this little girl he takes on her quest, which is just to basically be a bodyguard for her as she goes and picks herbs and do things like that. And they follow, he follows her into the forest and stuff. And she's explained to him on why she's doing this is because, her mom has absorbed her dad's role, her dad's job ever since he passed away, and she's the one who is kind of maintaining the household and doing like all the jobs now. And she wants to help out, but she understands it's a little bit dangerous, so she needs somebody to fill that bodyguard role. And immediately, even though we don't exactly know what's going on under the hood, but it definitely touched his heart for sure. With that whole entire scenario. And he was thinking to himself, he's like, oh, well, when I was her age, whatever she is, 11, 10, whatever, 12, he was like, I was just playing video games inside, and here's, she trying to go and help her mom and support and do all the other stuff. So I definitely love that it shows that human side of him, which I think will have to continue to happen, not only for him, but then for us, the viewers, to kind of connect those dots on that he is more than what he was reincarnated into. And I really like that, like a lot. Then we have him actually fighting the basilisk, which I think was really interesting. Again, we didn't know how strong he was on the power scale until he was able to go and kind of like let us know, like, hey, this is kind of like mid-tier players would have really struggles with this, because it's able to turn you to stone. It has a bunch of status effect abilities. It can poison you, etc. It's stupidly strong. But then we saw that little armband, or the band that it has on it. So it leads me to believe that this basilisk, along with the one that the other knights took down, is being controlled maybe by like a higher being, or by some kind of enemy or some kind of antagonist or something. So obviously they're there on purpose, which is what those little bands tell me. So it's kind of foreshadowing onto what arc will end up meeting somewhere down the line. He's going to end up meeting the person, whether he befriends them or has to fight them or whatever the case is. You know, it kind of shows that there's going to be some antagonist down the road or somebody else that's going to have like the more meaning as to why that these things are there. But, you know, he's able to take it down in the one shot, and then it shows us the knights who they sent like 50 men, and I think 38 injured and like, I don't know, 12, 15 dead or something, just to take on one of the basilisks themselves. And then they called him either a god or a devil, and I really vibed with that a lot. I was like, okay, yeah, that's funny. Because when they showed devil, when they said devil, they showed him like, you know, drinking a pint of beer back at his back of his hotel or whatever. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's hella funny. But then it pans to his little kitsune, little familiar that he has now. I was like, okay, that's a drastic thing. But overall, I think that this episode was a great follow-up to episode 1, and I think that if you're doing the 3-episode rule to kind of decide, like, you know, should you watch it or not, I think that this is definitely a good showing on to why, yes, you should watch this, because it's going to have a full range of action to emotions to... It's gonna appeal to a lot of different senses that you might have. It might warm your heart, and you might like cheer for it, and you might get like worried. So it has like a lot of different things that it's trying to invoke in us, and it's doing it by representing a character who's this big ass skull dude. You know, he's basically another version of 𝐒𝐻𝐻, but, you know, a little bit different. So I definitely think that this is definitely worth watching. And episode number 2 was really, really good, and I really dug it quite a bit. And I hope that Maka or Marco, whatever her name is, I hope that she comes back up again later on with some other kind of like mission or something, or maybe he kind of stops by the village every so often to check on her or help her be her bodyguard. And I hope that she ends up being a recurring one at least 1 or 2 more times throughout the season. I think that'd be pretty cool. I'll leave you guys on those thoughts there. If you guys watched it, let me know what you guys thought about episode number 2. If you haven't watched it yet, let me know if you guys are doing the 3-episode rule or kind of what's going on there. Put that down in the comments down below. Of course, before you leave, make sure you subscribe, because we're going to be covering this anime all season long, along with a bunch of different anime coming on the screen right now. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.